Hey y'all, KT here. Let's get into this look. This is so freaking cute. Yeah, no, I didn't record them eyebrows. So once y'all get done doing your eyebrows, go ahead and hop in with me. We're going to prime our eyelids with our concealer. I'm going to keep the concealer up high. I'm not going to bring it down on the eyelid, at least not intentionally, because I'm doing a lot on this other eye over here. But I want to keep it kind of high up because I'm going to do a cut crease. And I don't want to do too much product when I know I got to cut the crease. Does that make sense? Now, remember, when you're blending out this concealer, you want to make sure that it is solid. And by solid, you don't want any creases. You don't want any skin showing through. We're going for full coverage, babe. Tap and press. Tap and press. So once you've blended your concealer really, really good, you're going to go in with your transition color, which should be a neutral tone brown or something close to the skin tone. The transition color is the color you just used that's going to kind of transition from that brow bone highlight into the actual eyeshadow. So we're doing a dark brown cut crease with a lime green in it. But we want it to kind of be a cute little ombre, like as far as the browns. We don't want to just do like a muddy brown cut crease. I mean, now that would eat, but that's not the look we're doing. So to ombre it, we're going to start off with a neutral tone brown or a brown that's close to your skin tone. And as y'all notice, I am using a smaller brush because her eyelids aren't as big, so I need to make sure that I can control where my product goes. So I'm going to use a smaller brush. Placing it very strategically. Y'all know the placement decides. You want to make sure that it stays in that crease and that you're working it in that crease, going back and forth. Do not spend too much time adding product in one spot because you will start taking it off. You want to make sure that you're moving the product around as you press and as you tap. Once you have that color all blended out and you see a seamless blend between your brow bone highlight and that shadow, we're going to go in with a darker brown now, and then we're going to follow that same crease, but we're going to be a little bit more tighter than we were with the first color. That's how you create the ombre. So one color has to go on top, and that's the very first color. At least that's the way I work it. I have seen some artists do the opposite, and I think sometimes when I'm using like a lot of colorful colors, kind of going the opposite works sometimes. But as far as like just that neutral good brown ombre, you kind of want to go first color being the base color, and then you want to go darker as you go smaller for the cut crease. Does that make sense? And notice I'm doing layers and layers. Remember, eyeshadow is also built in layers, especially if you want beautiful blended colors that mesh together beautifully. You're gonna build it in layers. Now if you get to the point where you just like, all right, yeah girl, move on to the other eye. Because you can always go back and forth between the eyes as you blend. But blending can be very repetitive. That's how you get a good blend. You just have to keep kind of going over it and over it and over it. And then even after we get done applying the dark brown eyeshadow into the crease, I'm going to go back over it with the first brown eyeshadow just to blend out the top of it so that it does have even a more seamless blend. Baby, sometimes you gotta lift that eye to get up in there. You gotta get up in that crease, and I got to blend it. I do have Milk Magnesia on her face. That is what y'all see, the white residue on her face. Milk Magnesia is good to use if you want to prevent being super oily. Now, I'm not telling you that it's gonna stop you from being oily all the way, and maybe it will depending on how much you use. However, I'm not really fond of putting certain products on the face, but like I do because, good makeup is good makeup. So I don't use a lot. Now, to each its own, but I just use a little bit. Adding more brown to the crease because when you think about doing a cut crease, I want you to know that once you cut that crease, that line that appears above the concealer when you cut it, that needs to be so, like, it just needs to be solid. Like, it does not need to fade at all. Like, that color needs to be so solid. And that's how when you actually cut the crease, it gives it like that wham, bam, turkey and ham. You know what I'm saying? When I say solid, y'all, I mean like full coverage. My language is a little to the left, but you know, whatever. It's a part of my personality. So, when I say solid, I mean full coverage. So we want that brown coverage to be very full. Now, once you get the darkest brown that you're going to use into the crease, you want to start shaping out the cut crease. So when you know the shape that you're going to do, you want to just follow that. You want to shade it. You know how you trace, then you color it? So we're doing it backwards. We're going to color it and then trace it. So you want to make sure that you're going in the shape that you want to trace it so that it follows the shape. Does that make sense? So when it's time to carve out your crease, you want to follow your natural crease. I'm literally just pressing my product and then I'm following her eye shape naturally. You see, when I keep picking it up and taking it off, it's because I either keep stopping or it keeps going off track. So as I'm doing this, I'm coming back down, keeping the shape. Sometimes it works if I just slide my brush across. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I have to pat, pat, pat. Now, I have seen a method where they take the concealer and then they give lines like along the crease and then connect it. Now, I'm not a fan of that. I think that it doesn't come out as sharp. But, you know, to each his own. It's a million ways to do makeup. I'm just teaching y'all mine. By KT. You want to be very precise, though. When it comes to this cut crease, precision is the prettiest part. You want to be very, very strategic with where you're laying this concealer brush, how much product you have on it, how fast you're patting. Because sometimes when I pat too fast, I pat up into my brown and then I got to blend it back out and it's just the whole thing. But take your time and you want to make sure that you have a full coverage when it comes to that eyelid, but you want to be very precise when it comes to that crease. So this, my beauties, is called a half cut crease. And you could have stopped a little bit mid-eye, and you actually could go all the way down to the edge of the eyelid, but this is a half cut crease. You will bring the color in and it won't follow all the way through. But we're not doing a half cut crease, we're doing a full cut crease. So we're going to bring our cut crease all the way through and create a wing-like shape. Now this makes the eyelid shape cat eye style. So it's going to elongate the eye and kind of give you this very cat eye dramatic look. And you just always want to make sure that your concealer is solid. You want to make sure that it is full coverage so that when you do apply eyeshadow on top, that it sticks to the product and actually shows up. The first shadow we're using is going to be a white, and we're going to apply that into the corners of the eye and bring it up. Now we're going to work in sections when it comes to applying this eyeshadow because, again, you want to be very precise with this cut crease. I'm telling y'all, other makeup artists will not tell y'all how many times you have to apply something. So I'm probably going to put this white on at least 5 times. Let's count. We on 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, only 4 times, close enough. So now we're gonna go in with our nude color and we're gonna apply that next to the white and then gradually blend it into the white. So right here, I'm just going to add a little bit of the sparkle, and I'm only putting it in the center at the top. This is going to create like a subtle halo effect. And let me go ahead and zoom back out so that we can get into this foundation. And remember that when you are applying your foundation, you do want to tap and press. You don't want to do too much swiping. You want to tap and press, and you want to move the product around. Me and Jackie was just yapping. She was even late for her recording, so I'm going to go ahead and just zoom past this real fast. So for the lime green liner, I actually mixed my neon lime green eyeshadow with one of my very, very light concealers. And I just like kind of mixed it on the back of my hand because I needed the consistency that the concealer gives, but I needed to be that neon green. Now you do want to be careful with this, and you want to use the tip of that brush. You don't want to lay it too flat because then you will make the liner thicker. So you want to make sure that you're using the tip of the brush to keep the line very fine so that you can control it. Now let's add us some eyeliner. Same thing with this eyeliner. You want to make sure that you're using the tip of the brush to keep the line fine. You don't want the line all big, thick, and ugly. You want the line to be very skinny so you can control how thick you want it. So use the tip of the eyeliner brush. Once you've drew the line that you're going to see initially, baby, the word tearing me up. Then you kind of want to lift up the lid and fill in anything under that's not filled in because maybe the eye is a bit hooded. Now it's time to get into everybody's favorite part, I believe. Adding the concealer and stuff. I want y'all to make sure that y'all pay attention to the consistency of my concealer. It's not too thin. Y'all be thinking y'all be using a lot of makeup. You're not. Use the makeup, girl. Pick up the products. Let the makeup prove it. So once we've blended out that concealer and that contour, it's time to pick up that foundation brush and blend in between so that we don't have any harsh lines and blend any and everything that ain't blending. And I wouldn't necessarily call that the contour. I would actually call that the bronzing. So what we did was actually bronze the face. If you notice that we went from kind of very bright concealer and foundation, and then we kind of gave it a very bronzed look. With this nose contour, I went in with a dark brown that's kind of matching the brown that's on the cut crease on the top of the nose, and then I'm going to take her foundation color and I'm going to blend it with that brown and drag it down to create my nose contour so that it's not too muddy but still giving contrast and depth and shadows. So it's giving snatched. The best thing to do with the nose contour is drag it out to the sides and then just blend the concealer back in afterwards. Does that make sense? Now we're going to take a darker shade of brown in a cream and we're going to contour our cheekbones and our hairline out. This is when it's going to give sculpt. This is when it's going to give And you want to make sure that you are actually pressing this into the skin. You want to tap and press. When you're doing your makeup, think about 3 movements. Tap, press, and swipe. You want to tap for control, press to melt the product, and then you want to swipe for movement. In this case, we want to melt and we want to control. So we're just going to tap and press the contour. Once you've put the product in the place that you want it, then you want to gradually go around the perimeters and kind of blend around it. Now going under our eyes, we're gonna make sure that our concealer is blended out beautifully and that we're taking it in on the sides of the nose so that the nose can get very much pinched. So now you're going to see me actually flip the powder puff on the other side and blend in between the contour and the concealer so that, you know, everything is kind of blending seamlessly. I am using the One Size translucent powder. I really love this powder. I think that when it comes to the blur effect, this powder takes the cake. You want to make sure that you're actually setting the concealer by pressing the powder into it. You don't want to just sit it on top of it. You want to actually press it into the concealer. Remember, you want to set powder everywhere that you had a liquid. Powder brings control where liquid brings movement. When you are blending out your contour, I think one of the biggest mistakes people make is blending down. You want to blend upward, and this is what that means. The movement of actually going upwards. You want to blend up, not down. The setting powder that we use to carve out the contour, I'm actually taking and kind of going over the whole face with it because it was a more brown color than the original setting powder. For the blush, I'm using an orange eyeshadow that is in my James Charles palette from Morphe. Yes, I'm still using it. I'm using that orange color and I'm using that for the blush. And this is going to blend so beautifully just with the reddish tones of her hair and the contour and just kind of not giving it too much of a pink look. I'm going to set the black liner with the same color that I use for the contour. We're going to go ahead and start lining the lips. Lip liner is very important. Do not let anyone tell you it's not. Okay, now for the stars of the show. I did not freestyle these stars. I think a lot of people think that when I do stuff like this that I'm freehanding it. No. Sometimes, but no, not no star. I don't think stars are so unpredictable. I don't think I can draw a perfect star. So anyway, I'm using my little star stickers and I'm going to stick them where I want the stars to be. Keep in mind that when you use a star like this, a sticker, you are creating the outline and not the inside, the outline of the star. Is Jackie getting excited like this is the look? Like, girl, let me do the stars. So this is our placement. We did little star, big star, little star, big star. Nothing too cohesive, but still kind of giving uniform. So in order to get the color to pop like you want it to pop, you have to make sure you do a base and a powder. So my base is me doing the concealer mixed with the green shadow already. And I'm just using that and I'm just going to pat. I'm going to pat the shit out of these stars because for one, I don't want them to move. And then for two, I just need the lines to be very, very prominent. So once that application is solid and that coverage is there, I'm going to take the actual lime green shadow and then I'm just going to pat that into the concealer base that I just put. So this is going to make sure that the color, it does not move. So now I'm going to take a white eyeshadow and I'm just going to set the eyeshadow with a white eyeshadow on top. And that's just going to help the kind of ombre effect kind of happen and to brighten up the neon green so that we know it's popping. My girl start getting excited. She can see the vision actually coming together. Thank you. now we're going to get a very small brush and we're going to get some dark brown eyeshadow on it. And we are going to clean up all the areas where we need brown. And what we're going to do is shape out our star. So everywhere that you know it's supposed to be like a dent in the star, you're going to kind of mimic that dent with the brown eyeshadow, giving it a star shape. Does that make sense? Here's a better view so you can actually see like how I'm adding the brown in there. You see, and I'm doing it light with my hand so that it's not too harsh and still blending it outwards, but I'm giving the star its shape back without taking off the sticker yet. And then I start removing them because I was like, let me see, let me see, you know, before I go any further. But it actually came out really, really good. Like, not that I was, you know, doubting myself. You know. Either I forgot to shape it or it needs a lot more shaping, this bottom front star. So I'm going to go in with a lighter brown. Oh, maybe that was the thing. I needed a lighter brown for this one. And I'm just going to give it back its shape. Spray that face down, honey, but be careful because sometimes it will ruin your matte eyeshadow. But go ahead and set your setting spray all over. Pick up that foundation brush again and blend again. With lashes added, this is the final look. I really hope you guys enjoy it. I really hope you guys try to recreate it. Remember, there are a million ways to do makeup. I'm just showing y'all mine. Bye, KT.